Anyways, thanks for joining us today here. My name is Doyal Gurangadas, and I'm here with my good friend Vira Doyal. And we are kickstarting the prayer revolution, which is there's a serious need. If you're not aware, there's a serious need for revolution in our society, but it's not political, even religious, social, economic, environmental. It is spiritual, and it's a revolution of the heart. And it starts with us. It starts with me. And it starts with you, Vera, right?
Yeah, Baba, for sure. It starts at home.
It starts at home. And so that revolution of consciousness can lead all those various aspects of our life. And that's what it means to bring the mood of prayer into our everyday life. It's not just when I need something or ask for something or when I'm in trouble or I have this spiritual rabbit foot I keep in my pocket that I rub when I need it, but it's really how can I live in a moment-to-moment dependency on divine guidance. And the further I allow myself to sink in that dependency, the greater amount of strength, clarity, comfort, support I will find. It's kind of materially, it doesn't make any sense. As our good friend Raghunath often says, makes no material sense, but spiritually, it makes all the sense in the world. So with that, we start our morning off with a little prayer from our good friend Vera, and then we talk about it, and we see where our personal lives connect with it. Sound good, everybody?
Sounds good to me. We got thumbs up on Zoom, smiles, nods. Looks like we're doing good. We're doing good.
Okay.
So thank you so much, DG, welcoming us, creating a space, creating a sacred space for us. He always comes in a few minutes early and sets the tone for our time together, for our half an hour, our power half an hour.
Power half hour.
Okay, so we're going to read a prayer today from Thomas Merton. And those of us that are familiar with prayer and really spiritual intention, you know what we're about to jump into. And those of you that have not done this before, then just take an opportunity right now to rest. Whatever it is that you're doing, just to pause, to close your eyes, connect to your breath, connect to stillness, and connect to receiving. So often in life, we're in the doing mode, we're giving energy and doing. And right now, we're just going to receive. We're opening up to receive divine grace through these prayers, and to let them touch our heart. My Lord God, I have no idea where I'm going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end. Nor do I really know myself, and the fact that I think that I'm following your will does not mean that I'm actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope that I have that desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore, will I trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. My dear Lord, please give us the courage to soften into the present moment, to soften into your grace that is right now available for us. Please give us the courage to sit down in these moments to come and to know that you are with us. We may not have the most perfect clarity of the path that leads us back to you. We may feel lost. We may feel disconnected even from that path altogether. To know that you are walking with us on the path, to know that you will never leave us alone. Please give us the strength and the clarity to know this, and that in our day today, the moments to follow, the days to follow, that we feel as we are courageous warriors, stepping into the unknown every moment of our life, every day of our life, fearless, knowing that we can be instruments of your grace and love in the lives of all those who we come into contact with. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Vira. Appreciate that. Were you reading from a particular book?
A little shout out to
Oh, the
Rukmini.
little book of
Little Book of Prayers. Yes. This is a prayer by Thomas Merton.
I love Thomas Merton. And so he was actually he was a big fan of the Bhagavad Gita.
Mm-hmm.
He read the Bhagavad Gita. He read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. He actually wrote a foreword, an appreciation for Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita that was published at one point. And so, yeah, big fan of Thomas Merton. Thanks for bringing him into the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I loved what I was hearing and getting out of it was he saying that sometimes it's like, how do I think it's one of the biggest questions we can ask. How do I know if I'm living God's will in my life?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like we hear, if you read a lot of Vedic literatures and spiritual texts, yogi texts, you'll hear this idea of like being guided from within, like God is in your heart and he speaks to you in the quiet moments sometimes. But how do I know if that's God speaking to me in my heart, or it's just my mind just, pulling me in one direction or the other? Or if someone, I mean, it's kind of kooky. Someone comes up to me and says, I'm on it's like the Blues Brothers, I'm on a mission from God, It's like somebody says that God wants you to do something. It's like, it's kind of scary. You get a little frightened, actually, like someone saying, I'm carrying out God's will. God, I have some feedback that God wants me to give you right now. You know what I mean? And so it becomes this kind of like game ender point of a conversation where you can't argue whether that's true or not. And so how do I know internally if I'm living out God's will for my life? It's so, so hard. And I think that sometimes if we just had that clarity that this is what I'm meant to be doing, then no matter how hard it is, I'm willing to step up to the challenge. But I think the challenges of life isn't so much the specific external challenge that I'm faced in order to accomplish a certain task. It's the internal conviction of, is this actually what I'm meant to be doing and giving my energy to?
Mm-hmm.
And if we just had that clarity, if there was just like a reference book we can check and be like, yep, this is what God wants me doing, great. And then I'd be able to pull myself forward. So it's so hard. I actually even I wrote a song, one of the few songs I finished during the time I was living as a monk. I actually started this song when I was 18 years old in high school. And then I moved into an ashram. I probably started when I was 17. And then I moved into an ashram when I was 18 and I stopped playing music so much. And then it wasn't until like 10 years later that I remembered this little jingle that I wrote and some of the lyrics, and I finished it. And then it's called Signal. The name of the song is called Signal. And the lyric and the chorus is, and I wait for that signal to tell me where I should turn, but silence is all that I get in return. In the sense that, I'm just looking for God to tell me so clearly what it is I'm meant to be doing, but sometimes I don't quite always get that. And so Thomas Merton is coming right out and saying it, like, I don't know exactly if sometimes what I'm doing, is that actually your will? Give me that clarity. But then he ends it with, but my sincere desire to serve you is my saving grace. And it's like, I think the word that was coming to mind is our sincerity is like our course correcting factor. It's like you're on GPS and you make a wrong turn. Ever like it reroutes. You're like and sometimes it's like this case, like you're on a highway in New Jersey and you miss your turn and it's like, next exit is in 22 miles. You're like, what? I can't turn. You know what I mean? Like, this is the last exit for 50 kilometers. You're like, what? And so it's kind of like, and then it's like it reroutes, and all of a sudden, like your 15-minute journey turns into like a 45-minute journey, But it's like, but it continuously reroutes itself. And I think our sincerity is our rerouting, is the rerouting element of our spiritual course. If I'm actually sincere enough, I'll be able to make a choice, be wrong, and then be willing to see how I'm wrong. And see how I'll be constantly opening myself up for advice, for guidance, for input, Like,
Mhm.
where are the people? If I'm just on a solo mission from God and nobody else around me is giving me counsel or input, then I'm in a very precarious situation. Where's the spiritual counsel I'm inviting into my life to support that?
You reminded me of this. Just hold your point. You reminded me. I was in Kauai with Deanna. We're on a vacation. Oh no, this was with Arjun and his son, and we were on a vacation in Kauai, and we're driving, and we're basically we're driving along a cliff, and the GPS keeps telling us to turn left, and she's like yelling at us. She's like, turn left, and we're like, yo, lady, you're gonna send us off the cliff, right? So it just brought up that sense of like, if it's just me and the voice, I may be shooting off the cliff, or I may be going into a ditch. They think that I'm hearing a voice, but actually there's a malfunction with the GPS.
You're on a cliff and it's like, turn right. It's like, there is a death to the right of me right now. You know what I mean? So let me check in with Arjun and see if this is where I should be turning, you
You
know?
got it. Yeah, you got it. Arjun was like, definitely do not turn left. Let's keep going.
Totally.
We
Yeah.
got this.
And it's like in spiritual life, there's this checks and balance system that comes up often. And in Sanskrit, the terms are guru, sadhu, and shastra. Guru means the spiritual teacher, like specifically like a specific spiritual teacher that I've accepted into my life as somebody I want to guide me spiritually. And that may be a person that you have an intimate, physical, personal relationship with, like you meet rep often, or it may be a person in your life that you don't see often. They're kind of like a spiritual celebrity, so to speak. They travel around the world and you don't get personal time with them, but you can listen to their lectures and their messages online, and you have a sense of what their mission in life is, and you adhere to that. Like, what would you know what I mean? Like Christians all over the world have this, what would Jesus do? It's WWJD bracelets, but it's kind of like, what would my guru do? What would my spiritual teacher do in this situation? And we kind of have that as a leading voice in our actions. Then you also have sadhu, which sadhu literally means like a saintly person. So you have, what is the spiritual community of saintly people that I'm aware of? Also think about this issue or this idea, this, and then you have shastra, which is spiritual literature. And so those three things should be in some sort of alignment. And you find it's so interesting. There's so many documentaries that have come out about spiritual leaders that have led people down a dark path. Just not too long ago, I watched that documentary about Bikram, about hot yoga, and just like the crazy stuff that the guy was into. Or you got Wild Wild Country with Bhagavan, Sri Bhagavan Rajneesh. Or there was even a more comical one of Kumari. Ever seen Kumari? Kumare? Ever heard of that one, Vera?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see it?
I never saw it, no, but I heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, Kumari is this guy. He was a teenage, early college age guy from, I think, Long Island or New Jersey, that pretended to be a guru. And he went out to, I think, Arizona or New Mexico, grew a beard out, wore robes, and was like pretended to be this guru that some people fell in love with and gave their life to. And at the end of it, he was like, I was just joking with you guys all along. And some people were like, oh, that's the greatest joke in the world. Or some people are like, I'm seriously scarred by this.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the consistent factor in all those things is you had this standalone icon that nobody, for whatever reason, didn't know or didn't think or wasn't aware to ask, what's the tradition this person's connected to? Like, who's your teacher? And
Mm-hmm.
who's your teacher's teacher? And who's
Mm-hmm.
the community of spiritual minded people that you're a part of? And where's the shastra? Where's the spiritual literature that you're pulling your teachings from? Are you just pulling this out of your asana? You know what I mean? Are you just pulling this out of your behind? Are you just creating this? Are you making it up? Or are the only books you're reading from the ones that you've written?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we ask those questions, it's like a safeguard. It's like a spiritual safeguard. And so I think also for us personally, it's like, if we're sincere enough to be course corrected by having spiritual influences in our life, and also being able to be self-aware enough of, is my character transforming, or am I really, what's my real motive here? And I think that's what Thomas Merton was saying. If my real motive is to serve and please you, Lord, I'll be open to that.
Mm-hmm.
But if my motive is something else, then I'm gonna, I'm just deluding myself,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm not going to hear the voice of God clearly.
So beautiful. Yeah. Just that the principle of sincerity, that really being at the crux of it. And that if I am truly sincere, that I want a closeness in my
Mm,
relationship with the divine, and then I want to continue to grow and transform and awaken spiritually, then,
mm,
yeah, that's going to lead me. That's going to guide me. And then along the way, that if I'm sincere, then that also means, and it's the practical analogy that we use of backpacking. Like if I'm sincere, then that also means that, okay, I'm backpacking, I'm climbing to the top of Kilimanjaro, and this is a treacherous hike. And if I'm just a little bit intelligent, if I'm just a tiny, tiny bit smart, and
mm,
sincere and really wanting to be successful, and not just an ego kind of drive to do it on my own, I'm going to reach out to teachers and guides that have walked the path before.
mm,
And I'm likely going to do it with people that I can share the experience with, that I could walk with. I'm going to do it with friends. I'm going to do it with spiritual community. And I'm gonna have a map. I'm gonna really have a map that is approved and is registered with the state or with the country, that I know that this is going to lead me on the path. It's going to lead me correctly on the path. So it's super practical, right? It's super super practical. When we talk about spiritual life, we talk about any endeavor in life. Like to have these elements, it's just they're like 101 sincerity. Like whatever it is. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a great parent. I want to be someone that serves the community, selflessly, whatever that is. Who are people that are already doing it that I can learn from? Who are people that
yeah,
want to share that journey with me? And what are those guidebooks and those maps that could help me to really be effective on that path? And so,
yeah,
and I love that it comes back to, it's something that in our yoga teacher trainings, oftentimes people are like, well, then what about, like, yeah, that just kind of seems like you're just following, but then you brought in that point of sincerity, right?
mm,
Sincerity, there's this compass, in our hearts, like that we're feeling an alignment. Yes, I'm taking guidance from a trusted mentor or a coach or a teacher or a guru, whoever that is.
mm,
I'm taking, I'm taking influence from people that are on the spiritual path with me also, that share that goal, and so it ultimately comes down to our heart. It ultimately does come down to
mm,
something being incredibly resonant with the
yeah,
voice of God in our heart. But we need support. We need these supportive elements in our life. And I oftentimes I just say teachers, teachings, and friends. Guru, sadhu, and shastra.
mm,
Teachers, teachings, and friends. Like
yeah.
we want to be successful on the path. Like it's like that's us just being it's us being smart. It's us being smart. So.
Mm, beautiful. Thank you so much. There are so many beautiful comments, a couple good questions. We have our official literary correspondent of the show, Bryn Hlava. She's here with us on Zoom and Instagram. Thank you so much for doing your service, Bryn. I want to just check if could you. There's beautiful questions. There's so many beautiful questions and comments that are pouring in on Instagram and also our Zoom chat board that we're not able to get into. But what we want to start doing, if you can, Bryn, if you can just be going filtering through the comments and the questions, is noting those down and putting them she's putting them in a document for us. And if we're not able to get them on this show, we want to get to them on a future show. So please do send in your comments on the chat boards, whether you're on Instagram Live or on Zoom. And also, we have an email address, prayerrevolution@bhakticenter.org, prayerrevolution@bhakticenter.org. You can send in your comments and thoughts there. And so we want to track all of your, we want this to be participatory. So we want to track all of your comments and all of your questions. And one of the questions I did see earlier was somebody asked, does everyone need a guru? And
Mm.
it's a very interesting question. And I think that the first thing that comes to my mind, or one of the first things that come to my mind, is what is a guru? Who is a guru? What does that mean? We might have different ideas of what that means. And I think that was kind of what the movie, part of what the movie um, Kumari was about. Is like, I think a guru is an Indian man with a long beard in an orange robe. You know what I mean? Or I think a guru is somebody sitting on the top of a mountain cave. But as you put it so beautifully, like teachers, and friends. And so um, I think that it's spiritual life has this interesting categorization in people's mind, because when it comes to material learning, we recognize I need someone to teach me. I want to become a doctor. I want to become an engineer. I want to become a life coach. I want to become a therapist. That I need someone to kind of like show me that way. But when it comes to spiritual life, there's this kind of like total disconnect of like, I'm just going to figure it out on my own. I'm just going to go within and figure it out. It's like, well, what are you going to do when you go within? What are you going to find there? You know what I mean? Is maybe your heart is clogged with weeds and personal desires and all kinds of junk that is going to, you know, why not take the shelter of someone who's walked the path along to you? And so I do think that in spiritual life, really, what I've seen in my personal life and what I've seen in the lives of those around me, that people who are able to humble themselves enough to the extent that I am not going to figure this out on my own and I want to surrender myself to a worthy guide, make leaps and bounds in spiritual life. But I think that what gets confusing sometimes for people, maybe you can speak on this here, budget, is that what does it mean to engage in that relationship? You know, Srila Prabhupada, the spiritual teacher of our spiritual teacher, said once, you know, we talk about surrender to a higher power, surrender to a guru, but he said you should never surrender your intelligence. You know, there's a whole story that goes along with that where, you know, there was people were just like, oh, I just was doing what I was told to be doing, you know what I mean? But there's can I tell a little fable?
Go for it, Bob. Yeah.
Little fable. There's a story of a guru and a disciple, and they're on a trip, and they're going from village to village, and they're riding a donkey, and they're riding a horse, and they're just trekking along. They're trekking along, and you know, and along the trip, this guru says, disciples is, don't do anything unless I tell you to. You know, he says, okay. And so they're going along, and they get to their next destination, and they realize that half their stuff is missing. Like half of them have like pots and pans and bags and stuff. Half their stuff is missing. And the guru goes like, where'd all our stuff go? To get robbed? And the disciple goes, oh no, it fell off the horse a few miles back. It's like, well, why didn't you pick it up? He's like, well, you didn't tell me to. He's like, oh, okay, fine. So he made a list of all the things that you should, you know, pick up. Make sure that you pick up all of these things. If these things fall off the horse, pick it up. You know? And so, he said, if anything falls off the horse, pick it up. It's okay. So they're going along, and all of a sudden the horse starts pooping. And the guy stops the horse. He starts picking up his poop. He's like, what are you doing? He said, if anything falls off the back of the horse, pick it up. He's like, no, don't do that. Here's the list of things to pick up. If these things fall off the horse, pick them up. He's like, okay. So they're going, and all of a sudden the horse gets a little scared, and there's like a rattlesnake, and the horse starts galloping forward. And the guru falls off the horse. And the disciple just keeps on going, and he turns back and says, Gurudev, I'm sorry, you're not on the list. You know, and so this idea of like
being a lemming or losing
our intelligence, blind following and intelligence, you know what I mean? Like, we're meant to use our intelligence and apply it with sincerity. You know what I mean? And so we're not just meant to be blind following. It's like really what we get from teachers, and friends is we get guidelines and principles, and then we apply those principles to our life with our God-given intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it, DG. And it's something that, you know, what comes up for me when you're sharing that is that I think that because, you know, there have been, you know, teachers and leaders, you know, and parents throughout time that have abused power and that have been, you know, obviously other than perfect and obviously, you know, flawed and have frailties in different ways that, you know, to kind of put our trust and our faith in somebody to guide us can be a very vulnerable state, and something that is that really could bring up a lot of fear and a lot of hesitation. And so it's something that, you know, what's laid out in the yogic teachings is that we're following a teacher as long as they're following their teacher and as long as they're following the teachings and the guidebook. You know, if there's something, again, like you're saying, DG, it's like our self-intelligence, our self-study, like knowing what's moral, knowing what's out of integrity, knowing what is what's actually aligned with compassion, with grace of God, with the higher intelligence, and and aligned with love, right? Aligned with actually that state of love of God and love of each other. And so if that teacher is stepping out of alignment with that, then it's our duty, right? As travelers on the path, like if they're really stepping out of line and they're really kind of going down a different, that's our duty.
Mm,
It's, we have to have that intelligence to recognize the difference between the pure teachings and the fallible teacher.
mm,
And I hope it's something that we don't have to go through as we take guidance from teachers in our life. But in the case that we do find ourselves taking guidance from someone who is
mm,
out of integrity, that's our responsibility to recognize that and to disengage, and to
mm,
not be led down into that darkness. And so it really is it's a relationship. I mean, it's like a marriage, right? In our
mm,
marriage, if we're blind to integrity, if we're blind to the values that are actually really truly meaningful to us in our life, then we could end up in a relationship where our partner is on a completely different planet, and
mm,
we could unconsciously end up in a situation where we're really kind of opposed to each other. In the same way with the teacher, if we're just so eager to have that, kind of cheaply to have that guide,
mm,
and we haven't really done our research, and we haven't really dug into our own hearts to see, is this a teacher that I feel confident, that I could surrender to? Is this a teacher I feel confident that I could be led through treacherous storms and dark nights on a mountain path? I have to feel really confident in that. And that's something that builds over time, that builds slowly and gradually. I love St. Francis talking about the gradual development of spiritual life. It's a slow, step by step, brick by brick. And when we move slowly like that, we move consciously and thoughtfully and sincerely, then those teachers will come into our life. Those friends will come into our life, and those guidebooks and guide maps will come into our life in very practical ways. And
mm.
so,
Yeah, it's so beautiful. What I was thinking is that we often we find what we're looking for. You know what I mean? If we find what we're looking for, and in life, and also we're sent what we're seeking,
mm,
oftentimes. And so it's like, really, what am I honestly and earnestly seeking? Like Krishna knows our deepest desires,
mm,
and if we continue, and I think that was Thomas Merton's prayers. My desire is to serve you, Lord.
mhm,
And so let that desire lead me and guide me. And if that
mhm,
is my true, sincere desire, and that desire will get tested,
mhm,
that desire will get severely tested. Um, and if that desire remains consistent and steady and goes deep, then Krishna will send the things in our life needed to fulfill that desire.
mhm,
To fulfill that, Krishna sends the things we need to fulfill our desires, whether they're material desires that lead us astray or they're spiritual desires that lead us towards service.
mhm.
And so,
It's so
um,
empowering, right?
right?
It's so empowering. Like that's what we have in our hands. Like we have this responsibility. We have this opportunity right now to say, like, I want this life. I want to live a life of pure loving exchanges. Like that's what I want. I don't what am I looking for? I'm looking for love, and I want that to be pure in every moment, in every exchange. That's my heart, right? That's my
Yeah,
desire. That's at the core of it. And if I'm sincere about that, then okay, then Krishna's going to guide me. Then friends are going to come into my life and help for those loving exchanges to flow. And that's going to
yeah,
come, and that it's like, it's not outside. It's not like, okay, like some magic wand has to come into my life, or some magic person is going to come into my life and then I'm going to be okay. It's like, no, like I'm responsible right now. What is in my heart? What am I desiring? What am I really searching for? What do I really want in my life? And that's
yeah.
our work. We get to churn our heart and really see, what seeds am I planting? Am I planting marigolds, sunflowers? Am I planting some thorn
Mangoes.
bushes? Plant some mango trees? What am I planting in my heart? What are those desires? And if I'm staying in that rapture of, this is what I desire, I don't know where I am on the path. I don't know if I've been given guidance yet. I don't know what's going on. But I know that if I'm sincere and trying to serve you, that all of that will come together. That's
Yeah,
the nectar of devotion talks about that sincerity, that I want to know you, my Lord. I want to know my higher power. I want to move towards you. I want to awaken spiritually. That desire brings everything else in our life. It brings teachers, teachings, and friends. And so,
yeah. It's so beautiful. Our good friend Michelle Berger out there posted on Instagram. This is how the Bhakti Center came into my life. I prayed to Krishna to bring me answers to my struggle in association with devotees, and it's real. I do believe that when we find that, it's faith giving. Um, And but like I said, that sometimes we're just in our desires are being tested sometimes. You know,
Mhm.
what do you really want? What do you
Mhm.
really, really want? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And we're going to be asked that at times because it's if I want service, that's available all the time. Service
Mhm.
is available all the time if I really would. I don't always want service. I want to be served a little bit, or I want to serve with perks. I want service with perks. Can I get
Ah,
service with perks, please? That's the comfortable position I want, you know. And it's like you can't have one or the other, you know. And so I think that we just, you know, for us to recognize that when life gets hard and there's struggle in spiritual life, it's not that I'm doing something wrong. It's just that my desires are getting tested. You know, I'm getting things weeded out a little bit. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And it's okay. Our good friend, and we got to wrap it up in a second. Our good friend Ganesham was on a guest on our on Wisdom of the Sages podcast yesterday. And I got so many friends and people telling me, you got to listen to the show. It's so great. I mean, Ganesham is an old dear friend of ours. We lived in the ashram together for many years. He's just such a humble, deep, wise soul. And he's a chaplain in a hospital. And he said that, you know, it's very at the time of death, you know, he's there at the time of death for many people. And he said that, you know, sometimes it's you know, there's peaceful, beautiful, wonderful passings, and sometimes there's very scary, jarring passings that people have, like not like in a physically violent sense, but like people have fear in their eyes and anger. And he says that sometimes some people, you know, they're just peaceful, quiet people the whole time, and then as soon as the time of death comes, they get very angry or they're getting very
Mm,
fearful. And he said he's learned to hold that because, you know, just like we're shedding our physical material body, he said we're also shedding inner things that we're holding on to. So that
mm,
anger, that fear that's coming up, it may just be the surfacing of something that's been held very deep down that is being released before you make your final passing in this life.
mhm,
And so he
mhm,
said he's learned not to be afraid of it and
mm,
not to resist it or not
mm,
to even change it because it
mhm,
needs to come up and out. And so
mhm,
sometimes if we're experiencing doubt or frustration or the stretching out of difficult feelings in spiritual life, sometimes our desire is just being tested, but
mm,
also, you know, those things might just be things that are just being kind of pulled out of us. Like if you go on a fast, you know, like you might get sick or be hives or rashes because toxins are coming out of you. And so when you start to go along a spiritual path, those things are going to start to come out. And
mhm,
so don't be afraid and don't be bewildered and don't get too doubtful when those things come up because they will. But it's
mhm,
really our sincerity is what pulls us through it because my Lord, I'm looking for this shelter. I'm looking to please and looking to serve you.
mhm.
So
Beautiful, Baba. Thank you so much.
yeah, that's my thoughts. What's your closing? I know we got to wrap it up. What's your closing word, Vera? What's your closing thought?
Yeah, it's that sincerity. I love it. I'm anchoring that in my consciousness and my day today is that the sincerity to serve. Like that's it. Like, I want to serve you, Lord. And I may feel connected to you. I may feel disconnected to you. It may be a bright day, maybe a dark, cloudy day, whatever's going on. But that's what I'm committed to. I want to serve you in every moment of my life. I want to serve you. Please show me how I can serve you. And please let that sincerity, even in those unknown moments, let the sincerity, the desire to serve you, let it burn brighter and stronger every moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Love you so much, Vera. You're a
Love
bright
you,
light
brother.
in my life. I saw so many people like fist pump emojis. Yay, Vera, go Vera, speak the truth, preach it. You know, people loving you, loving everything you're saying. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We love you guys so much. And thank you, Bryn, for your service of typing stuff up for us.
Mhm.
Please go to bhakticenter.org/online to find recordings. We have these posted on SoundCloud as well as YouTube. We're also live every morning. We have other beautiful podcasts that take place. We'd love for you to stay connected and write to us at prayerrevolution@bhakticenter.org. We'd love to keep in touch. We will see you guys all tomorrow, same time, same place, in your bedroom, wherever you are in the world right now. And we love you. Thank you so much.
So grateful. Take care, guys. Have a beautiful
Okay.
day.
Haribol. Hey, Bryn, you still on the call? Oh, is she there? Oh, maybe she's gone. I don't know. She left. Can't hear me here.
What's that?
All right. Hey
Love
there.
you guys. Jan, I love you. You're the best.
Yeah.
AJ, come on, man. Trisha, you guys are the best.
Yeah, Bryn. Bryn,
That smile, Trisha. Come on.
yeah. Bryn, I just want to make sure if there's any comments over that people make that we're not able to get to, would you be able to like copy and paste and put them in a section in the notes of like comments and questions that we can go through? We can hey, this comment question, whether it's an appreciation or just a thought or this or that, we can track those. So, good. All right. Thanks so much, Bryn. Good to see you, AJ. Take care. Jan, so glad you're here. Love you guys. I'm signing off. See you soon. Take care.